So this society thing, it cannot be good for you. In the year of our Lord, 1806, Johann Caspar Schmidt was born in Bavaria. He was the only child of Lutheran parents Albert Christian Heinrich Schmidt and Sophia Eleonora Rheinland. His father was a flute maker and tragically died of tuberculosis a mere 6 months after the birth of his son. Soon after, his mother was remarried to a pharmacist by the name of Heinrich Ballerstedt and moved to western Prussia, leaving her son in the care of an aunt. When young Johann began attending school, he received the nickname Stirner because of his large forehead.
Aww.
This childhood nickname would eventually evolve first into his pen name and then into his preferred name, Max Stirner. After his childhood schooling, Stirner, without notable excellence, worked on his undergraduate education at a variety of universities, including the University of Berlin. While a student at the University of Berlin, he is known to have attended 3 lecture series given by Hegel. At the conclusion of Stirner's studies, he married and became a tutor, making very little money. After his wife died in childbirth, he began teaching at a girls' school in Berlin, where he taught history and literature for 5 years. Most saw him as a very unassuming fellow. In spite of this reputation, when he wasn't busy with his teaching duties, he would find his way to all of the intellectual hubs in Berlin. It is at these centers of intellectual and philosophical thinking that he began to converse with the likes of Ludwig Feuerbach, Bruno Bauer, Karl Marx, and Engels, as well as his second wife, who would later abandon him. Hippel's wine bar, in particular, lent itself to these encounters, as it was the favored meeting place for a group of thinkers known as the Young Hegelians, also known as the Free, in which Stirner was counted as a member. At the meetings of the Young Hegelians, they, quote, applied a dialectical approach to Hegel's own conclusions, which led not only to new, politically more radical and disturbing conclusions than Hegel's own, but also to internal dispute and disruption. End quote. Stirner was among the more rowdy and extreme of the bunch. He never felt compelled to hide his disdain for religion and all things moderate. He was not afraid to incite intense arguments with regards to these things, as well as all social institutions. It's during this time that he begins writing. One of his earliest works is The False Principle of Our Education. This was published in 1842. In this he asserts that education in all its known forms fails. He says that education is a tool used to cut down the individual. It molds human beings into drones so that we become slaves to civilization. Obviously, his biggest concern in this piece of writing is education's effect on the individual. He argues that it should not deteriorate the individual, but build it up. Stirner believed that education should help man find individuality. Conversely, he saw the educational system of the time almost as a machine of conformity. Another of Stirner's notable works is Art and Religion. This was also published in 1842. Art and Religion was a response to his fellow young Hegelian, Bruno Bauer's Hegel's doctrine of religion and art judged from the standpoint of faith. In this article, Stirner makes distinctions of what art and religion are, and then how they differ from philosophy. He says,
art makes the object, and religion lives only in its many ties to that object. But philosophy very clearly sets itself apart from both. It neither stands enmeshed with an object as religion, nor makes one as art, but rather places its pulverizing hand upon the business of making objects, as well as the whole of objectivity itself, and so breathes the air of freedom. Reason, the spirit of philosophy, concerns itself only with itself and troubles itself over no object. God to the philosopher is as neutral as a stone. The philosopher is a dedicated atheist. If he busies himself with God, there is no reverence here, only rejection, for he seeks only that reason which has concealed itself in every form, and that only in the light of reason. Reason only seeks itself, only troubles itself about itself, loves only itself, or rather, since it is not even an object to itself, does not love itself, but simply is with itself. And so, with a correct instinct, Neander has proclaimed the destruction of the God of the philosophers.
This makes his attitudes towards religion and ideas of God evident. He felt that both art and religion, by calling man's attention to another thing, distracted man from individuality. Stirner's most known work is a book entitled The Ego and Its Own, published in 1844, which was dedicated to his wife as a plea for her return. Before this book was published, Stirner left his job at the Girls' Academy, quote, in anticipation of the controversy he expected with its publication, end quote. It was also published in very large quantities as a means of avoiding censorship. This book set forth his anti-authoritarian ideas and focused on the importance of the individual. He said that society and its institutions, as well as religion, were empty and dangerous. He saw them as detrimental because they declared authority over the individual. Stirner wrote,
"In the time of spirits, thoughts grew till they overtopped my head, whose offspring they yet were. They hovered about me and convulsed me like fever fantasies, an awful power. The thoughts had become corporal, on their own account, were ghosts, for example, God, Emperor, Pope, Fatherland, etc. If I destroy their corporeity, then I take them back into mine, and say, I alone am corporal, and now I take the world as what it is to me, as mine, as my property. I refer all to myself."
He claimed that men were restrained by the internal and external in the forms of spirituality and materialism. These two ideas are used by society to hold the individual hostage. Stirner wrote that in ancient times the world was based in realism and that in modern times it shifted to idealism. He said that in the future there would be a form of individualist anarchism, also known as egoism. For Stirner, society had no place or right to be in the lives of men. With this, he also wrote against humanism. He believed that human ethics and morality were just another way to keep the individual contained. Max Stirner did not live remarkably long after the publication of The Ego and Its Own. He died in 1856 of a bug bite that had become infected. He died of an infected bug bite? His ideas did not die with him, however. His works have gone on to inspire many thinkers into the modern day. One person influenced by Stirner is Edward von Hartmann. He was drawn to the ideas of egoism and nihilism. It is also believed that Nietzsche was influenced by Stirner as well. Stirner is most known for his individualist thinking. While he is considered an individualist, he is also thought of as an anarchist. This is because of his fierce dislike for any form of society. He believed that any societal institution deprived man of the natural right to individuality. Stirner believed that the only way man could be free was if humanity escaped society. Using Hegel's approach, he created a thesis, realism, an antithesis, idealism, and a synthesis, individualist anarchism, or egoism. He believed that individualist anarchism would set humanity free from the constraints of realism and idealism. I leave you now with a dramatic reading of a poem written by Engels about our dear Max Stirner. Look at Stirner! Look at him! The peaceful enemy of all constraint. For the moment, he is still drinking beer. Soon he will be drinking blood as though it were water. When others cry savagely, "Down with the kings!" Stirner immediately supplements, "Down with the laws also." Stirner, full of dignity, proclaims, "You bend your willpower and you dare to call yourselves free? You become accustomed to slavery. Down with dogmatism, down with law." End scene.